0 for the week and in a pretty good position.
Well, let's see if they can do just that in game number 1 as we dive straight into Champion Select for game 1 of this best-of-3 series between Game Talents and Saint. So far, the bans have already came out. Caitlyn being taken away, Nidalee as well by Game Talents, whereas Rise has been taken away by Saint so far. Pretty standard bans coming out from here. Caitlyn, a little bit surprising. That's one that you normally see thrown at CLG.
Yeah. Well, they can't be banned here, so, you know, not all that much. Means that with priority on Lucian, maybe they're looking at for a first pick. One of the things that Lucian does struggle with in lane is the range of Caitlyn. It's also why you'll see Ashe into Lucian as well every now and again, as we saw out of EDG's first game, because he really does need to be able to get in nice and close, and Caitlyn Ashe can kind of keep him back at arm's length and trade relatively effectively.
Speaking of champions that I've been told do well against Lucian, Twitch will also be banned out here by Saint, as Karma is going to be the next ban coming from Game Talents, a champion that's been resurging in League of Legends, not only in the mid lane, but as support as well recently.
Yeah, definitely, and now it just looks like even further that Game Talents want to bully bottom lane because they're getting rid of some of their counters there. Karma has seen a lot of players at bully support so far in this split. Also saw a game in mid lane, so maybe the double whammy there.
And Rek'Sai is going to be the final ban coming out from Saint here. A jungler that has definitely become incredibly popular. You touched on him very briefly before he came into Champion Selected. The Cinderholt buffs have really helped him out.
Yeah, they certainly have. Can just clear phenomenally quickly. One thing that I will say, however, is now I'm confused why March is in the lineup, because I think that Chimin is a better Graves player than March, and he's definitely a better Kindred player, so that's a little bit strange. With Rek'Sai being taken off the board.
And speaking of Kindred, it's going to be picked up immediately by Game Talents as their first pick. Going to go over to Wu Shuang. He's going to be playing that champion into the jungle. We'll have to see what are the 2 picks that Saint will respond with here.
And it wouldn't surprise me if it's those 2 hovers right now. I mean, Azir does have some danger of being counterpicked by an assassin right now, but Control Mage is just so strong, and with the buff to the Zhonya's Hourglass, it's not as much of a risk. Lucian is just, especially with Caitlyn off the board, the best AD carry in the bottom lane, has a great laning phase, is good towards the latter stages of the games as well. So 2 good consistent damage threats coming through, and a lot of control throughout the mid parts of the game.
And we've seen a lot of Lucians go for very different builds. The Black Cleaver, Yoma's Ghostblade, the standard AD carry build path being picked up as well. We'll have to see if they lock this one in, which one Execute will go for, as it's going to be Victor the lock-in for the mid lane for Saint.
Yeah, and you know, this is something that we've seen be a question mark time and time again. Who is stronger right now, Victor or Azir? They do similar jobs. You would say that Victor has better upfront damage still, even though that we move some of it to damage over time. A little bit more control to team fights and sustain damage out of Azir, especially as the game progresses. For me, it's Azir kind of needs the 3 items to really get rolling. Victor's just good at every stage of the game. That's why he's so meta-resilient as well. So we're going to see the matchup one more time, and we'll be able to see whether Snoopy in the mid lane is able to make it work.
And Frostgrin has talked plenty about how Victor, you know, his itemization hasn't changed. Revitalize helped him out so much with that ultimate. Like you mentioned, Azir, he's going to be picked up on the flip side of the map. Game Talents throwing that into the mid lane. Echo is going to be picked up by Game Talents as well, throwing him probably up into the top lane. Still a very, very strong top laner. Very sticky and does a lot of damage, even with massive amounts of tank items.
Yeah, it certainly does, but he is very melee on the current patch, and Swain would be a way to shut that down if you are Akon and it's being hovered. Want to touch on the Swain pick a little bit. We took a lot of the extended power off his E. It no longer amplifies damage per level. It just has a flat rate there, and you put points into the Q instead. Because of it is this slow, it just gives you so much control right now. Also, waves clears very well, which is one of Swain's weaknesses that he did have on previous patches. So start with a point in E, sure, for the trading power, but max QW over E, of course, taking points in R whenever you can, has just shown that Swain right now is like so difficult to deal with. Like, he's so damn annoying.
And partnering up with him will be Elise, that has been picked up by Saint. Most likely going to be going on over towards March. You mentioned that, Chimmy, you know, he's the Graves player. Possibly March could be the Elise player for the team here.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I mean, that's a lot of kill threat in both lanes. I was going to touch on the build before because you brought it up. I expect Lucian to go with a standard AD carry build here. Black Cleaver would help his team out not at all because he's got 3 magic dealers on the Rift. And that's really what it is to me. If you've got someone else that does use auto attacks, I mean, you've got a Kindred running around, you've got a Grave, something like that, sure, pick up the Black Cleaver build. It's very good throughout all stages of the game. If not, just goes for a pure IE build because it's going to do more damage and spike a little bit earlier, still, if you're lucky with those crits. So we'll see how it works out here.
We also have to see which pick Saints are going to pick up as their final pick to round out their 5-man team comp. As Game Talents, they've already completed their lineup. They're going to lock in Ezreal and Trundle, so throwing the Troll back into the bottom lane as a support champion for the lineup here.
Yeah, and this is strange, right? Because there's no huge tank that you're going to be stripping away resistances from on the other lineup. Trundle, of course, got a huge buff with the changes to QSS, but it's going to be interesting to see him in the support position. It's a good kite back peel support lane. Also gives a lot to the team fight, but once again, now that Thresh is locked in, it's not going to be something like an Alistar, something like a Braum. You're not really stealing all that much off someone if you are Trundle, so he's not going to be incredibly tanky as the game progresses.
You still have to think that that's an incredibly strong bottom lane coming in for Saint here. Ezreal, Lucian and Thresh, the law lane bottom lane, has been dominant ever since these two champions have been released.
Yeah, the wife steal, as Atlas likes to call it. It's an interesting lane because they're just good at every stage of the game. And like when you look at Saints lineup, that's one thing I will say. They're really good at bullying out lanes. They've got 3 pushing waves, in my opinion, although it is hard to shove an Azir in. But with jungle pressure, you definitely can do that. So they're just going to look to push up and try and control with what should be a pretty strong early game jungler as well, and at least for March. On the other side, for Game Talents, if this game goes long, if they're able to get towards the 3-4 item builds, they're just going to scale so much better. So we'll see how it works out.
It really seems like Game Talents have a lot of kiting potential as well. All of their champions seem to be able to kite really effectively here, but we'll have to see how they do as we go into game number 1 between Game Talents and Saint. And we are back on to the Rift for game number 1 between Game Talents and Saint here, as all 10 members are going to load up and get ready for battle onto Summoners Rift. We'll have to see if they decide to fan out as we normally seem to see teams do in the current meta, or decide to go for a few of those cheeky invades and put a couple of wards down here and there in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, right now it looks just 5-point defense from both teams and not really much going to be happening here. As I said, I think that standard lanes really would suit Saint here. Swain needs to be able to get farm onto himself to become that sustained damage threat and remain durable as the game progresses. And Ezreal Trundle is a surprisingly good lane. Fervor picked up for Gimgoon.
Echo. That's a lot of fervor battle on the side of Game Talents alone. Looks like he wants to auto-attack people quite a bit here for Game Talents.
It just means that he needs to dominate the early game. I mean, Grasp is so much better as the game progresses, but he wants to be able to get on top of Acorn and, I guess, send him back early. Acorn, of course, formerly of Blue, Samsung Blue, and then LGD, is a very good historical player. And it's actually going to be Saint going for a lane swap here.
That is rather interesting. You don't see many teams go for lane swaps recently due to the changes of Dragon and the Rift Herald.
So you still, the thing is, you can still take a turret and swap back in time. So that's not going to be the problem. The more interesting thing to me is that Swain really does need to be able to collect farm. And it's just not going to be afforded that luxury. Of course, it will punish Gimgoon a little bit for taking a laning mastery there. It's not going to really work out in his favor. Fervor won't scale the same way that Grasp does.
Well, we do see both the AD carries and supports taking away the double golems to start off their game here. As the junglers are going to get a little bit of help from the top laners here. Saint opted to start on the Wolf camp here, smited that one and did get the Wolf Spirit as well, whereas we did see Wushuang start on Gromp. As we do have the votes coming here, 70% of people think that Game Talents are going to be able to pick up this game against Saint today.
We'll see whether they're able to do that. Saint, of course, haven't taken to Summoner's Rift yet.
First game here in the second split of the LPL this year.
And this is really interesting because they've pretty much given all of the experience over to March as well. The way new jungle experience work is only the large monsters, that's red and blue buff, will be able to share experience on. Everything else you have to kind of take for yourself. Acorn yet to pick up anything, so we'll see if he starts taking the 3 little ones for himself. He does here. So looks like Saint have a pretty good understanding of how to double jungle in the current meta. And that's something that some teams have struggled with so far.
Both the top lane are still level 1 at the moment. Gimgoon and Acorn are going to start moving up towards the respective lanes to help with this 3-man push to try and take down these turrets. Gimgoon already getting some damage down to this bottom lane turret. We should see Saint do the same thing up in the top side pretty soon as Acorn. He still has yet to hit level 2. A couple more minions should be able to help him out though.
Yeah, he'll be able to get there in no time. So this is interesting. He didn't pick up the 3 minions off the creep as off the first creep wave as Gimgoon did. That's why Gimgoon's able to do it a little bit quicker. But both teams have built the wave very nicely and then tanked it off turret. Of course, Ezreal, Trundle, they both have attack speed multipliers, so they're going to be able to rip through this one. Acorn being a magic damage dealer, not going to add as much help here. And it means that a slightly quicker lane swap for Game Talents will be achieved.
Meanwhile, we did take a look at that mid lane really quickly.
Oh, this is... Alright, so this is one thing I will say. People underestimate, like, really how much damage the turrets, like, take to kill right now. They will be able to grab the dragon at the same time here, but they lose a little bit of tempo to be able to go pick that one up. Because of it is an Infernal Drake. Probably will be worthwhile as the game progresses, but Infernal Drake doesn't really add all that much. People are going to be like alarmed to hear me say that, but it's a scaling buff. I mean, it's 8%. And right now, 8% of a Duran's Blade of a tier isn't anything, right? So for right now, the immediate power just isn't there. That's why I like things like Ocean Drake and Mountain Drake at the start of the game, especially when lane swaps are coming out. Just being able to keep yourself topped up as you move between jungle camps is pretty massive. But in saying that, once the game gets to 25 minutes, if you have 1 or 2 of those Infernal Drakes up on a team, you're going to be able to take over the latter stage team fight. So it's all about what part of the game you're trying to play to, and Game Talents have that early edge.
And if I'm not mistaken, the next dragon to spawn will be an Infernal Drake, as well as the Spectator was hovering over the pit earlier, which could give some incentive for Game Talents to fight for that dragon buff later on in the game. Meanwhile, we do see Republic and Snoopy battling out in the mid lane. So far, Azir's been doing a pretty decent job of harassing Snoopy wherever he possibly can. There's a couple of CS in advantage, but it's pretty even on between these 2 mid laners so far.
And you can see that right now, Saint, they go back to standard lanes. They want to be able to match it. Actually, they don't. They send a Swain up there with Shu, so that's a little bit interesting. They're going to kind of duo lane with their top lane, and we'll see if they get dove here, because a couple of members are coming up. Turrets heat up damage actually is really hard to judge in the current patch, but they do back right away.
Seal was trying to land a cheeky death sentence there, was not able to connect with anybody else. March is even up onto this lane now. Now they're going to try and go for a little bit of a brawl here. Flash coming out from Acorn. March trying to get away. He's taken out incredibly low. First blood will go on over to Echo here. Game Talents punish Saint.
And that is really disappointing out of Saint, because they don't sit on the turret. Instead, they sit in no man's land, kind of in between, and there's nothing they can do there. It's just an outright 4v3. And Wushang had just been flying around that jungle. He was already level 5. It picked up a dragon for his team. Now they're going to be able to get a secondary turret for themselves, all while XQ is just freezing. So, huge misread here out of Saint.
XQ does have a very nice minion wave stacked up for himself, but still, even in CS between the 2 AD carries for now, Wushang looking for a gank in the mid lane here. The Azir's going to pop the ultimate. Snoopy goes backward, tries to put some damage down into Republic, but too much damage is coming out from this Kindred.
Yeah, and Republic just does the right thing. He just flashes straight away to start that one up. He knows that he can get the ultimate back, so that's a great read on the play. And this is something that Republic needs to do. He's never going to be that amazingly flashy mid laner, but if he can just start winning the lane for himself, you know, with a little bit of help, it's going to be good news as Gimgoon gets tied up.
Lots of damage going down onto that Echo, but once again, Saint looked like they were trying to go defend that turret that was already taken down.
Well, they can't go into the bottom lane because XQ is still freezing that, right? And it's got him a 5 CS advantage so far, but that's nothing to write home about. But it's not going anywhere soon. So what it should be doing is denying 1 wave of farm. However, what that's cost them is 2 kills, an extra turret, and a 3,000 gold lead. So at only 10 minutes, not even, only 7 minutes into the game, that's just horrible news for Saint. They've been completely outplayed around this map.
And you have to think, with the Infernal Dragon already picked up by Game Talents and the next Infernal Drake spawning shortly, it's going to be a huge contention point between these 2 teams. Game Talents could possibly pick up a massive buff for themselves with 2 of those Infernal Drakes. Saint so far just dropping the ball a little bit, it seems, in this game. Yeah,
and you know, I mentioned that 1 Infernal Drake isn't that much to write home about, but if you can start stacking them early, I mean, it also is a bonus to have, right? 8% is 8%. Get that up to 16. It's going to start becoming relevant earlier and earlier in the game. So something that Saint definitely have to keep their eye on. And Snoopy here in the mid lane, he's fallen down 20 CS as well. So it's not even like their priority picks, because remember, they chose to take the Victor away from Republic, force him onto the Azir. Even that's not going their way.
Certainly isn't. Republic's been able to harass him so much this game. Wushang with a great gank there earlier has been able to shut down Snoopy. He hasn't had any impact at all in this game. In fact, nobody from Saint has been able to impact the map at all so far. It's all been about game talents and what they're deciding to do next. Wushang, he's taken control of Saint's jungle as well, taking away the red buff. He took away the bottom half of the map too. Cocoon goes out.
Yeah,
Wushang.
That's not a fight you're looking for, Saint. It's a level 5 and 3 versus a level 7.
Well, they're looking for it now. It's 4-on-3 for now. Gimgoon going to try and jump in and do as much damage as possible. Has to use the ultimate to get away, but game talents scare Saint away from their own jungle.
Yeah, they just force him out one more time. And you can see that right now, March is 3 levels nearly behind the Kindred. Kindred's about to ding over again as he takes a couple more camps. And Elise can jungle with these guys. I mean, it's not a jungle matchup issue. It's just how March read the early stages of the game, tried to go help defend that turret. Got caught in top lane for much too long. And they're even going to give away the Rift Herald. Honestly, Game Talents just own this whole map right now.
It certainly looks like it. As, like you mentioned, Rift Herald will go down shortly. Should be going over to Gimgoon. He'll be able to continue his split pushing and dominance up in that top lane. His teleporter's up and available, so is Swain's up in the top lane as well. So when Dragon responds in about 30 seconds, we could potentially see a fight break out between these two teams.
If you're Saint right now and you fight for that dragon, I think you can kiss the game goodbye. There's just no way they can go near it. I mean, 3,000 gold at this stage of the game is massive. I mean, they have some inherent power because, you know,
Public looking to put a special delivery for Snoopy over to Wushang, who picks up that kill. Swift and easy coming in from Game Talent's mid laner.
All right. If you're saying you start looking towards game, no, just joking. But right now, that was just really nice from Republic there. He was just able to set up another kill for his jungle. They're just going to be able to march towards the second Infernal. And as I said, these are going to start stacking up relatively nicely, especially because the game's just been accelerated from their end. They're 4,000 gold up pretty much, and double Drake at only 10 minutes in. I mean, that's a huge lead right now.
And that's a huge change coming onto the Rift as well, as the third Infernal Drake will be coming up in the next 6 minutes. So Game Talent's
talk about kicking a team while they're down, yeah. Fish. If there was any hope of, say, being able to scale into this one, get it to 35 minutes, 3 Infernal Drakes while they're at their weakest probably have just dashed any of those streams right now. As you can see, Akon with the tier, he's just going to be able to sustain through. He's done a good job of catching up. I mean, it's not really his fault. He's 0-0-0 and it's just been made forfeit the whole wave. March tries and helps him push this one out because they can't afford to get frozen on again.
Saint, they've been able to stop the bleeding slightly. They're still only 3,000 gold behind, but it's still a massive deficit for them at the moment. The only upside I would have to say is Lucian has been freezing this wave forever, but it's only given him about 20 CS lead at most.
Yeah, exactly. And, you can take that as an upside, but the way that they've had to secure that is pretty much sacrificing Snoopy's lane. I mean, putting Akon at a deficit as well. So they do have one member slightly ahead, but everyone else on the map is getting decimated as we take a look at Kindred's jungle path, and Shu's about to die maybe.
He's going to get jumped on by Republic. The pillar's going to come down. True Shot Barrage not going to be able to clip him, but the soldiers are poking away at the Thresh. He's living with about 10 health here, but here comes Wushang. Flashes forward. Pentacure's the one to pick up that kill as the ultimate will come down from the Lamb's Respite, trying to keep himself alive. The tick damage from the Victor's not going to be enough to take him down, but they still get one kill for nothing.
Yeah, and you could see that XQ even dashed in there, tried to get down the heal, wasn't able to make it work. So Shu will fall down. He's only level 4 right now. Easy pickings for the Kindred. What we just saw there on the jungle maps, however, is how much pressure Wushang has put on the top side of that map. Every single time he's running out of the base, he's actually making a beeline for those Raptor camps, taking them away and exerting pressure everywhere else. So, heads up play out of the Kindred right now. Is Akon in a bit of trouble?
He's going to get jumped on by Gingoon. Parallel Convergence is not going to land onto the Swain. He's going to be able to walk away from that one.
You can see the fervor of battle doing work, Fish.
Lots of auto attacks in there.
Stacking up nicely. As once again, surprise, surprise, Wushang gets a nice deep ward.
That jungle just belongs to him right now.
Yeah.
Wushang's claimed it. He's marked his territory.
No way you can go anywhere near Kindred at this stage of the game. Already got upgraded jungler item and the Swifties.
It's 13 minutes into the game as well. Taking a look at the items really quickly. Lucian, he's still going for that Youmuu's Ghostblade Black Cleaver path. I know you didn't like this too much because there were 3 ability power champions on the team. Has that changed at all now that they're behind? Now that he needs to get those items in quickly and as efficiently as possible?
Yeah, and you know, like, this is one of those things that when Saint do finally get the item power spikes that we're looking at, they will be strong. But at this stage of the game, it's just how far behind are they going to be able to get there as Acorn. Oh, it's just hard to watch right now.
Yep, but just don't even go into the jungle. That belongs to Wushuang.
He got the 2 little ones. That's one thing I will say is 44 gold goes a long way at this stage of the game. So, you know, props to Acorn there. Able to pick those up. I don't know. I'm looking for strengths here, Fisher. Honestly, the fact that you've fallen down 3,500 gold and hasn't moved, that they just have no area for Acorn to farm now. They can't even really push towards a dragon or something like that because they've just, honestly, game talents have just taken everything away.
They have swapped back into standard lane, so to speak, as Lucian and Thresh are going to be down
here we
to
go.
bottom lane.
4-man dive into bottom lane. They're trying to stack up the wave as best as they can. Won't be spotted out by any wards. So here comes Acorn and March. They kind of know what's happening.
Savragi puts down the pillar. It's going to just be able to run away with PentaQ.
So they force him off. That's actually, all right, nice proactive play out of Saint there. Looks like they will be able to pick up a turret for themselves.
Everybody from both Saint and Game Talents are now rotating towards the bottom side of that river as well. Victor and Azir did meet inside that river and poked at each other for a little bit, but like you mentioned, proactive play from Saint, able to pick themselves up a turret in the bottom lane.
But let's look at what it's cost them. Acorn right now. We said he'd done a good job of catching up. That's now no longer true. He's 50 CS behind. Their jungler just hasn't had a major camp in so long. Sure, March is being able to pick up like minor camps, but right now Wushuang just owns any camp that he wants, and there's still no way he can fight him. Even in the mid lane, 30 CS is the advantage. And 3 assists. Like, the whole of Game Talents is just so much exponentially stronger than their counterparts, with maybe the exception of PentaQ versus XQ. But Lucian's, you know, just not going to be able to do all of that much damage. He's not going to be able to carry the game at this stage, especially against Azir, who's always been great at keeping him at that arm's length.
And doesn't even have his massive item power spike with the Black Cleaver not yet completed.
Yeah, and I'm confused about that because, you know, we mentioned that it's great. It's kind of more of a team-based item. It does do good damage because of the shred. I mean, you nearly even do true damage onto some carries at the earlier stages of the game. And sure, there's some cheap armor items like an Iceborne Gauntlet being picked up by PentaQ right now, so it will do a little bit of work. But I just feel like if you're in a position to hard carry a game, you want to have third item and Infinity Edge, throw caution to the wind and just be able to take over. Not the CDR build, although it does still have merit.
10 seconds till the Dragon does respawn as Echo, looking for a pick in the mid lane. Snoopy does get slowed down by Gingu's parallel convergence. Wushuang's going to jump over the wall as well.
How scary is that? They own that much of the river that the Kindred just hops in on top of 2 of your members and chases them out. Dragon is up and alive. This is the 3rd one. And we already kind of mentioned it. I mean, giving away 2, not great. Giving away a 3rd, that's just... This game can't go late now. Somehow Saint has to have a miracle Baron play and be able to claw this one back, because if this goes late, they're in a lot of trouble.
3 Infernal Dragons in a row, and now the Mountain Dragon's going to be spawning next. This is recipe for disaster for Saint at the moment.
One thing I will say is, you know, maybe Ezreal, he goes for something like Iceborne Gauntlet, Manamune, and then Bork build. So he's not going to have the most AD to, you know, add 8% onto. So maybe he's not the best carry with it. Same with Azir. He's going to go for something like a Nash's Tooth. Did he? No, he didn't cleanse. That was the E. He's going to go Nash's Tooth into something like Abyssal. So once again, not a huge amount of AP, more about penetration in that build. On hit out of Kindred. So I don't know. I'm looking for bright points. As far as if you want to give 24% stats extra to a team, it probably is this Game Traders lineup, Game Talents lineup, but it's still not great.
I'm taking a look at Saint for now. They still haven't been able to catch up in the top lane. Acorn still very far behind in CS. March still having a lot of troubles. Snoopy on your screen, still having a lot of troubles as well. He's 30 CS down against Republic's Azir for now. Only Lucian on XQ has been able to keep up. He still has yet to complete his Black Cleaver, though. Should be able to pick it up on his next
realistically, he hasn't kept up because he's a kill down, he's an assist down, and he's 3 Drakes down. So, you know, you can say that he's farming on the clock. Sure, I'll accept that. But they've put so much in to ensure that he's able to do that and pretty much sacrificed everyone else on the team.
Pretty much. Saint, though, still able to stop the bleeding slightly. They're only 3,000 gold behind. I said this about 10 minutes ago as well when they were still 3,000 gold behind. So if there's any saving grace, is that they're not slowly getting snowballed out of control. But Game Talent still controls Summoner's Rift at the moment. They can go wherever they like and set up anywhere they like as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And I just don't know what a winning team fight for Saint looks like right now. I mean, taking away blue buff, it's not just a mana regen, and that's 15% stats. See, Republic gets chunked out a little bit.
Is he going to fight for the blue buff here? Wushuang able to snipe that one away. Or smite that one away, I should say. Spencer gets a little bit of chip damage down onto both the Elise and the Victor as they're going to run back towards their towers into the defense of their side of the base. The rest of the team coming in from Game Talent's going to group up in the mid lane. Gimgoon once again using the parallel conversion, trying to look for a pick in the mid lane. Not able to find one though.
So they have pretty good anti-siege here, Saint. I mean, they have the wave clear out of Swain. Oh, they got a red buff. They have the wave clear out of Swain, out of Victor. I mean, even Lucian's culling is going to come in handy there. They don't really have that much else. 24% bonus stats as now March caught out a little bit.
Pillar's going to come down. Wushuang jumps over the wall trying to look for the Elise. Not able to find him. Has the Swain looking to try and lock down Gimgoon or Wushuang. Not able to get either with his W
Did
there.
you see the split? That's just so frustrating. I mean, Akon's like, I think I've nailed 2 of them. One hops over the wall. One just waits it out because Gimgoon's tanky enough. This is really nice play, actually, out of Game Talents. I mean, we criticized their win over Snake. It actually looked more like Snake were playing very scrappy League of Legends, and that was into Game Talents' hands. They were able to take them late and, I guess, win a couple of those games. But right now, they've just controlled the pace of the map. And you got to remember that Saint were the ones that elected into this lane swap. They thought they had the answer with the freeze and the 3-man defense, but it didn't turn out to be the case because they executed abysmally on it.
They're also the ones that picked up the Victor first instead of the Azir, so they knew what they were getting into. They're just not quite happy with the outcome, it seems.
Well, when you think about it, Victor, Elise, that is just so much kill threat on a mid lane Azir. But March has never been in a position to be able to go anywhere near mid lane because if he ever gets counter-ganked, if Wushuang's anywhere near that guy, he would just explode. The 201 Kindred already picked up the Hurricane as well.
Wushuang's been controlling not only that mid lane, but also the rest of the jungle this entire match so far. Snoopy going to take so much damage from the poke coming up from Republic, and PentaQ knocks him away from that mid lane outer turret.
And there you go. You clear one wave, but they pretty much make him pay with his life there. Has gone with a perfect X-Score upgrade. I actually like it when Victors do this when they're behind. We've seen it more and more, but it just gives you that utility that you won't get from other items. But he's heading back to mid as quickly as possible, seeing if he can clear out on what is a cannon creep wave. Looks like Game Talents in a position to be able to challenge for this one.
XQ going to use his ultimate to try and clear out the wave as much as possible, but that tower should be going down as Wushuang jumps over the back lines, hops in and out as quickly as possible. Turret's going to be put down by the Azir. March.
Flash pillar.
He's going to get cut off in between the turrets here, taking a lot of damage, has to repel up into the air with about 10 health remaining. Wushuang trying to jump in there. March going to live with a sliver of health. True Shot Barrage is available from the Ezreal. He might be able to snipe him off if he decides to use it. But for now, he's going to be able to get away with about 10 health there coming in from March.
But they shorten the lane. They put up the Azir turret straight away. They're looking to siege in more. They're not done yet.
Gimgoon was looking to try and jump in onto someone, put the parallel conversion behind the turret. Another pillar is going to come down. Snoopy, once again, taking so much damage coming in from the soldiers. XQ flashes in with a hook. Wushuang's been taken down. He couldn't use his ultimate. Now Savoki, he's going to get jumped on by the remaining members of Saint. They find 1 kill, but XQ has to flash away with 10 health. So does Acorn, getting over the thick part of the wall. But Saint, they find 1.
Yeah, so they get a kill. They lose 2 turrets. And, you know, that was a perfect storm of things to happen for Wushuang to fall down without using his ultimate. So, you know, got to give a little bit of credit to Saint, but the ship is starting to sail already, Fish. Dragon is going to be real available now. As you mentioned, it is a Mountain Drake. You don't want to give that one over because that means a very quick Baron to Game Talent if they are able to pick it up. But it's at least not going to be a perfect game kill-wise because they do pick up the jungler.
March is going to look to actually try and start on that Mountain Dragon. Instead, Saint wanted to try and take an objective for themselves. They should be able to pick this one up.
Well, they have to grab it because if the 4th dragon goes over already, that is such a huge Infernal Drake, but they're getting flanked.
Teleport's coming in behind the rest of Saint here. Here comes Republic jumping straight on towards March. He's incredibly low. Wushuang, he's there to pick up the kill. XQ being jumped on by both Republic and Gimgoon. They take him down. Now Acorn, he's been jumped on by the Echo. Here come the rest of his team. There's nowhere for the Swain to go. A double kill comes onto the Azir. And Game Talents, they pick up 3 kills.
Yeah, and once again, you know, Saint, they're desperate. They go towards the dragon. They try and pick it up. But there's just nothing they can do. And in response, even though they grab the dragon, they're going to give over the Baron.
That's right, the rest of Game Town's working to try and take down the big purple worm. Don't have that Mountain Dragon to help themselves out, but they don't bother about that too much. As this should be going down on towards Game Town's. Kindred picks up that one, and now they have a massive gold lead. 9,000 gold in the lead. The Baron, 3 dragons as well, and 7-1 on the kill board as well.
And let's get realistic. This game has been a one-sided affair since that lane swap came through. Ever since they sent Swain to the top lane with Thresh for some reason, and, you know, March up there as well on the Elise. And they just haven't been able to get back into the game. But the control and I guess patience that Game Talents is demonstrating for what was a disappointing EPA lineup last year is very impressive to watch. And we already mentioned it once, but if they're going to be able to pick up 2 victories on the same weekend to kick off LPL summer, that's a great news story for this team.
He did mention that some of the criticism we had was they were a little bit sloppy in the game of Snake. Might not necessarily be them. It might have been Snake playing a bit scrappier, but this game, a lot cleaner coming from Game Talent so far.
Yeah, this is just them dictating the pace of the game. And, you know, they had good reactionary play to the lane swap. Have to remember that it was Saint that initiated it, but they knew exactly what to do as XQ was freezing out that lane. And, I mean, PentaQ's even caught up now. There's just no advantages at all to speak of.
Game Talent's currently splitting up 1-1-3. They've got the support AD carry and jungler down in the bottom lane. Top laner and mid laner split up into their respective solo lanes for now.
These pillars from Savoki to be able to set up a siege, by the way, have just been amazing. Every single time anyone walks near the turret, he gets it just off the wall, ensures that they're not able to walk through there as a duo. Someone has to take the damage that's coming out of the Azir, coming out of the Ezreal. And now Wushuang just cheating between waves, being annoying.
He's not only trying to control Saint's jungle, he's trying to control the base. He just hopped in over the base gate, trying to get in between those 2 turrets. The mid lane inhibitor turret has been taken down. Republic and Wushuang looking to try and take down the inhibitor as well. They will be able to pick that one up as Savoki's going to jump in. Wushuang be caught by a hook once again, but they turn and take down the Thresh. Now looking at the remaining members of Saint's lineup. March, he's going to get jumped on, has to flash away as he's low on health. And they take one down. They take down the bot lane inhibitor as well. The top lane inhibitor is getting worked on by Wushuang and Gimgoon as well. Game Talent's looking to storm into the base here.
Yeah, they're looking to take all 3 inhibitors and close this one out by 30 minutes. Saint can try and clear the waves, but right now it's just not going to be enough.
It looks too difficult for them. They're just conceding the Nexus turrets as well. Savoki puts the exhaust down onto the Victor. Acorn, he's been knocked down by the Convergence. He gets taken down as well by the Ezreal. XQ trying to do whatever he can to save his Nexus, but it's not enough. Game Talents are working onto the base. They're going to be able to take down Saint in game 1 of this best of 3 series.
A comprehensive shellacking their fish out of Game Talents onto Saint. I mean, Saint from about minute 3 just looked like they weren't in that one. The Kindred picks up the early Infernal Drakes, gets number 2, gets number 3 even, and was just able to control the jungle from minute 1.
Let's start at the beginning of this game here. You mentioned how the lane swap was initiated coming in from Saint there, but they couldn't do anything with it. Game Talents reacted fantastically, and that's where they started their lead.
And it didn't make sense to me because of this. I mean, they swapped back with the Thresh Swain lane into double range. Swain wants to be able to bully the melees, and time again, this is here we're just able to set up plays, delivering the mid laner over to his jungle.
And that was actually the second gank we saw coming in from Wushuang into that mid lane. 2 times Azir during the laning phase was able to set up the pick for his team there. And that was another big decisive point. From the very start of the game, lane swap or not, it just looked like Republic was outclassing his opponent in that game.
Yeah, he certainly was. Snoopy wasn't even the mid laner we expected to see. We expected to see Otto, formerly Tiangun. So that was a little bit confusing there. I mean, the Saint lineup in general, no Chimin, March playing. Across the board, they weren't necessarily the people we were expecting to see. But, you know, they're not able to pick up game number 1, and Game Talents just beat them everywhere.
Disappointing game 1 for coming in from Saint here in the summer split of the LPL. For now, though, we're going to go into a very short break as we wait to get into game number 2 between these two teams. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.